Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday night. And if you're here joining me right now, welcome and thank you for jumping on and watching. If you get to watch this later, then I also appreciate you taking a look at it. I hope that everybody is staying well. We are quickly approaching the election. Ballots are out, and things have been really crazy. And I have given a lot of contemplation to my broadcast and what I've been doing. And of course, I've been doing so many other activities that it's been a little bit hard for me to organize my guest speakers and things like that. But I wanted to do something a little different tonight anyway, because I hadn't had a chance to do this recently. And basically, I'm just going to talk to you about a couple things that have been coming to my mind repeatedly as I've been fishing through social media, as I've been out collecting signatures on petitions, campaigning, and doing a number of different things. So I'm going to talk about some stuff tonight with regard to that. Also want to encourage you to do a couple things. So again, number one, please visit Justdefy, JUSTDEFY.org. That's my website for our activist group. And we really need to grow participation and membership in that group. So please, I encourage you to visit the website, submit an entry there, or visit us on Facebook or LinkedIn and join those groups. The second thing I want to encourage you to do, if you have not already done so, is please go to dethronepolis.com, the website for the official recall. You can find them on Facebook under Recall Polis 2020 and find a location with a petition where you can go and sign if you have not already done that. I have been also circulating petitions for the recall, and this is really important, folks. We're getting close to the numbers, but we are not there yet, and we are, of course, approaching a deadline. So don't just keep telling yourself, I need to sign, I need to get that done. I know I want to do that. Figure it out and get it done, please. There are so many permanent signing locations now. There are businesses and people that are in the same place on a regular basis, where you can just walk into the business and go to permanent signing locations. So please, I encourage you to get that petition signed. I stayed up in Tacoma last night, and in about an hour and 15 minutes, I got 17 signatures. That's not like wonderful, fabulous, right? I'm not going to like go shoot off fireworks, but it's 17 signatures we didn't have before, and it didn't take me all that long to get that done. Sunday, I was out for quite a while doing that, and this is really important. So please do those two things. Visit Justdefy.org and also get the Polis Recall Polis petition signed if you have not already done so. If you have any bit of a hard time finding a location to do that, just message me and I will help get you connected, or I'll come to you, or whatever we need to do to get that signed and get it done. So tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about, I have something else. So I have this cool shirt, if you can see it. So Latinos for Trump. So this was meant to be for my husband, but it's a little bit tight on him. So it is a large, but it if you can see it, it's not a big large. It's kind of a what I would call maybe true to size or even a little bit small, and it's a cotton shirt. So first Latino friend of mine who posts a comment to this broadcast and says, Mimi, I'm a proud conservative Latino, gets this t-shirt. I will get it to you this week. So just post me a message that you want that, and I'd be happy to get that off to someone so that you can probably wear that this weekend. I was sad that it didn't fit my husband, and of course he was too, but so that's just a giveaway I have. And if you need any other Trump gear between now and the election, please let me know. I have hookups. So what I want to talk about tonight is Where are we going next? The election is very quickly approaching, and I think that there is quite a bit of apprehension and uncertainty as to what we will be facing on November 4th. I don't know about you, but for me, just thinking about it builds up a little bit of nerves, right? Because we are embarking in something that is probably going to be different than we have ever experienced before post-election in this country and in the state of Colorado right now. And, I have been very active this year running for office, starting Justify. I'm sitting on seats for the Adams County Republican GOP now, taking care of the vice chair and a district captain position, which I was so fortunate to be elected to and happy to be representing for House District 30. And it has been a just tremendously busy season, attending rallies and all types of things. And I'm out and I'm on social media and all these places, and I see a lot of the same names, a lot of the same people, and a lot of people who are so strongly committed to our conservative values that are talking about being sick and tired of this and wanting to fight socialism. They recognize that right now we are not choosing between Democrat and Republican the way we chose between Democrat and Republican 35, 40 years ago. This is not the same situation, folks. We are literally choosing between socialism and freedom at this point. And the people who I am in the same circles with, they recognize this. And so it can be frightening as we go into the election to think about what might happen. And I see conversations about, is there going to be rioting? Is there going to be a civil war? How is this going to be handled? What's going to happen? I see people saying, I'm done, I'm over it, I'm going to fight, I'm not going to put up with this anymore, talking about protesting and a number of different things. But I'm wondering, what will you really do when this all comes down? So most of the people that are watching this or following me are of the conservative camp, right? We don't want socialism. For some of us who are old enough, we remember a time when the thought of communism in the United States was a horrific, distant thing. Communism happened over there. And people would have been ashamed and had to hide in the darkness if they were to even admit that they were supporting communism. There were Americans all throughout supporting communism in this country. Socialism, you can call it what you want. We know socialism is a precursor to that, right? But never in my lifetime did I think that I would see political candidates, especially at the national level and at the highest seats possible in this country, openly saying that they support communism. And that is where we are. And it is horrifically frightening to me. I don't know about you, if it's frightening to you, but it is to me. What is more frightening to me is that only about half of us have been able to figure this out. There is still this whole section of our society, right, of people who don't recognize this, who are embracing this, who are buying into the notion that this is going to be the answer to everything. And we can get into, I could literally talk for I don't know how long. We'd still be here tomorrow probably if we talked about the reasons why people are buying into this. Everything from, white guilt and the, history of social movement. And there's just a number of different reasons. But the fact of the matter is half this country still is buying into this, that somehow this is going to resolve what's wrong with this country. And we have generations now of people who have been indoctrinated into believing that the United States is a horrible place, that America is a racist, horrible country. And they have been indoctrinated through the system that we have all allowed, our public education system being the primary source of that. So it's not just scary that we have this, but what is frightening to me is that we have so many citizens of this country who are either actively or at least passively permitting the move to socialism and then thus communism. And then, of course, we have a sanction of people who are ready to completely celebrate that. So we have, for decades and decades, allowed this to get to this point. And in all of the rhetoric I see in social media and all the people I talk to and everything that I see, a good majority of people are looking for who is to blame for this, right? Is it Joe Biden? Is it Kamala Harris? Is it these people? Is it that people? I have to tell you something, folks. If you want to know who is responsible for the fact that we have presidential candidates standing up and proclaiming the the wonders of socialism and communism, you need look no further than the mirror. Okay? Now, this is not to lambaste people. I'm part of that group of people too. Okay? I'm just as responsible. We are all, each and every one of us, as responsible. And the Republicans, Republican Party, the conservatives, whatever you want to call it at this point, but people who recognize that that's a problem are as much, if not more, responsible for this problem than anything, because we see the truth and we've still allowed it to happen. Part of the reason we've allowed it to happen is that we've been busy working, taking care of our kids, building this country, trying to just make it on a day-to-day basis. And so we have allowed ourselves to remain apathetic to a system that has now become a runaway train. We have all allowed ourselves to be apathetic to it. And that apathy is a psychological phenomenon that's natural with human beings. But we no longer can allow this apathy to take place. And especially depending on what happens on November 3rd. Okay. You know, there is this psychological phenomenon called bystander effect. And this is not a new thing that's happened, but we really put a name to it and began to understand it in 1964. In March of 1964, a lady named Kitty Genovese was murdered in New York. She wasn't just murdered. She was murdered for like 2 hours. Okay. And everybody heard it. And nobody called. And there were a lot of people. It was a big apartment complex. The guy followed her from the street. He stabbed her on the street. And then he left. Then he came back. Then he followed her into an apartment. Then he stabbed her in the hallway. And then she crawled, screaming and crying, to her apartment. And he left and he came back and he stabbed her again. I mean, this went on for an hour, okay, or longer. I mean, he didn't just like walk up, murder her, and walk away. This guy left and kept coming back to continue murdering her, okay? Nobody called the police because they thought someone else would do it. When they were asked, well, how come you didn't call the police when you first heard her screaming? She was screaming things like, he's stabbing me, he's killing me, help me, please, he's stabbing me, he's killing me. Screaming in, different locations throughout the apartment building. And when people were asked, they said, well, there's so many people, we just thought someone else would do it. Okay. We've been doing that for a long time. We have just been really sitting back saying, there's so many of us, someone else will do it. Someone else will take care of it. Surely we are not going to let this happen. Surely people will fight. Surely people will stand up and make this stop. Look at how many of us realize this is a problem. The more people that are present at a crisis, the more people that recognize a crisis as a crisis, the less likely each one of them is to act. I looked up a few numbers about World War II and the Holocaust. These are rough numbers. These are just one or two sources I looked at. One of the sources I looked at said that over time, there were about 13 million Nazi soldiers at any given time in the Nazi army. The statistics I see show that about 20 million people were killed in that genocide, by the Nazis. That number is probably not exactly right, okay? The numbers I show that the population in Germany in 1940 were anywhere from 79 to 86 million people. Now, Germany's geographical footprint was different at that time, okay? I looked at Italy and Poland because those were also two countries whose people were highly targeted by the Nazis. And one of the facts I got showed Italy at 56 million, Poland at 36 million. So if that's the case, right, if those numbers are even remotely right, you've got 160 million people living in those three countries, 13 million soldiers, 20 million people killed. So more than one person per soldier is killed. And of course, the citizens outnumbered the soldiers by, I don't even know what the statistic is. It's giving me a headache figuring it out, but it's ridiculous, right? And I don't think that, the 13 million, I don't know if that figure represents a constant or if we're talking about throughout the Nazi army from, in the 30s when they really came to build that army all the way through, whatever. And I picked just a number, a date in there. But if that's even remotely close, it's 160 million people in those countries. They probably could have overpowered 13 million soldiers. We looked at this during 9/11. We had airplanes full of people that plummeted to their death because of the threat of one or two terrorists on a plane with a box cutter. There was one plane that crashed, and it was, I think, the one that was aimed toward the Pentagon. And it ended up crashing, and the people on that plane did die, but it crashed in a field. It didn't crash into the Pentagon. And the people on that plane fought. But we had planes that were being crashed to kill thousands of people on the ground, all the people in the airplanes. And how many people are on an airplane on a commercial flight? I mean, let's assume there's only one seat in every row filled. You got 50, 100, 200, 300. Some flights are a lot of people, right? And you've got, two terrorists? These terrorists were not on this plane with machine guns. It's not like they were there with AKs and 10 bombs or whatever. They had box cutters, okay? And yet they were able to subdue and take over airplanes full of people. We have seen this throughout history, the bystander effect, okay? Are we going to see it this November? I wonder, because I see people saying all kinds of stuff. I'm ready to fight. I just can't wait for the Civil War to start because I'm the revolution. I'm going to fight it, and I'm done with this, and I'm over it. There's no way in hell I'm going to let communism come, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yet, I talk to people, and I tell them things like, I have the Polis recall petition in my car. These are conservatives who are like, I can't stand that guy. He's totally abused his power. He's horrible, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I have the petition. Have you signed it yet? No. You want me to go get it? You want to meet? You want me to come to your house? Well, yeah, give me, I'll do it in a minute. I'll do it later. I'll do it. Still haven't signed it. So I want to know, if people can't even sign a petition, how are they going to fight a revolutionary war? And I'm not a warmonger. I'm not, because there'll be somebody, right, who watches this, some goofball who takes everything I'm saying tonight and completely misinterprets it. And, oh, she's encouraging a civil war. She wants people to take up arms and kill people. No, cut that out. Just cut that crap out. I don't even want to hear any of that. Okay. I'm tired of being told that if I'm patriotic, I'm a racist, or that if I talk about fighting socialism, that I'm trying to start a war, or all of this other garbage. Quit falling for that. Don't fall for that. I don't even care about that anymore. It's not true. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, we looked at the Holocaust in history. I'm old enough to remember us studying that in history as this inconceivable, horrific historical event that happened. And I can remember people saying, how could that have ever happened? How could this man have ever get into power? How could we have ever gotten to a point where he had 13 million soldiers in his army willing to murder people for nothing? How could people have been given up by their neighbors? How could this have gotten out of this out of control? How could people have turned a blind eye to what was happening, or pretended they didn't know what was going on in a concentration camp? People going in, train loads of them, and never coming out. And supposedly people didn't know. It's the Holocaust. It's, a murder. It's a guy that is on the street being beaten. It's all kinds of things that have been allowed to happen because we assumed someone else was going to take care of it. We assumed there were enough of us that it would just get done. And we absolved ourselves of personal responsibility for what is going on. And all I want to say is, I encourage you to stop that. Not to do that. Am I perfect? No, this is not a high horse speech. This is just realization. This is just me trying to bring forward something that it's the elephant in the room. We need to talk about it, because how many of us truly are prepared to take the next step? The circles I've been working in, the candidates, there's some just awesome, wonderful people out there this year that are dedicating their own money, their time, they're giving up their life, they're sacrificing themselves, they're putting themselves out as a target in the community to run for office to try to change this. People signing petitions and rallying and doing all kinds of things and protesting, and it's been such a tumultuous year, and there's so much that has gone on this year that it's just, it's incredible to see all the action people are taking. But this is not ending on November 3rd. This is not ending November 3rd. I don't care who gets elected. I don't care if we're in Colorado, so I don't care if Cory Gardner gets elected and all of my Adams County Republican commissioners, if great people like Tony and Phil get elected, and Lynn or whoever it is, and we recall Polis. Let's say it goes great, and we get him recalled, we get a new governor, and Trump's elected, and whatever. It's still not going to end. We can't go back to sleep. We can't go back to sleep. And I don't know how many of you think that that's possible, that all of our local, government, our state legislator and everything else is going to turn red, and we're going to get, red at the national level and this and that. I don't know how many of you think that's going to happen. Oh, I would love to see that happen. But whether it happens or not, we can't be asleep after this. And I really am wondering what it is we're going to do. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue what I'm doing. I am going to continue to take every legal means possible to fight this. I have mentioned before that I have a young lady that I've been talking to this year and trying to enlighten about the truth about Democratic Party, socialism, and a number of other different things. And we've had some really wonderful conversations. But all in all, after it all came down and it was all said and done, she's voting Democrat. Nothing I said really made that big of a difference in her perspective. And that's okay. That's her choice. I never have anything bad to say about anybody for their choices that they make. But, when I was talking about it, and we were talking about communism, and I just said, I can't in good faith ever support anybody who is moving us toward socialism, because that's the precursor to something horrible. And she said, well, there's nothing you can do about it. And all you're doing is driving yourself crazy by thinking negatively about it. Hogwash. I refuse to believe there's nothing I can do about it. And as long as every single person out there who knows the truth also refuses and doesn't say someone else will do it, doesn't sit back in their house and assume another group will do it. Oh, there's this activist group. Oh, the Proud Boys are going to take care of it. Or, oh, this group's going to take care of it, or whatever. No. The finger has to point right there, right in the mirror every day. You're going to do it. You're going to fix it. You're going to fight it. I'm going to continue to do what I have been doing. And by the grace of God, that I get to continue to do that. And I hope that you will too. And that you are prepared for whatever comes in the next step. This year I started Justify. This has not been an easy thing to do. And gaining momentum, membership, and all of that is hard. It is hard. It hasn't been easy to get people to join in. And especially when it came time for them to act, to commit their time and their resources to whatever it was we decided we were doing at the time. And it's time for me to meet with a few people who are still on my leadership team and talk about where we're going to go next and what we're going to do next. I know that in the last few weeks, I've had a lot of conversations with people at ACRC meetings, at rallies and stuff, who have said, conservatives need to come together. We need to have a singular voice. Okay, I've seen the Patriot Group doing cruises, Patriot Cruise. I've been to FEC meetings. I've talked to people who want to try to reach out to the Proud Boys. I've talked to people who are in the official part of it, in the GOP, all of these different things. My own activist group, the Recall Polis people, that's a whole other group, all these different conservative groups. And when we scheduled our rally on November 10th, I mean, it was like we were competing for time to do that. But we did it with the most conscientious effort that we could to pick a day that we thought would be impactful. But we are not working in unison with each other. We are not one singular voice at this point. And I want so very much to try to pursue making that happen. And so as we move forward into the election and through the election, I am going to recommit my focus to creating a unified voice among conservatives. I am going to be reaching out to leadership in key activist groups throughout the state of Colorado and even beyond there to try to bring together a unified voice. We can do it if enough people pursue it. And so that will be my singular focus of Justify and of my own personal motives in activism. In order to do that, I will take this town hall, this roundtable that I'm doing, and start to try to refocus that and look at the structure of this so that it is an active, participating event every week, and that we are having key leaders of those groups being active in coming together. So I encourage you to join me along that journey in whatever way that looks. And if it's literally to to join Justify, to join me, to talk, to start to collaborate, to say, you know what, I'll commit a few hours a week toward this goal. I can do that. I can commit a couple hours a week and to stick to it and do that. Whatever it is, please do it. I just encourage you to take action at this point and beyond. Okay. Again, November 4th and beyond is when the real fight will start. That is when the real work needs to be done. And it's not going to matter who's elected or what bills pass or what happens on November 3rd. Either way, the work is starting November 4th. So I hope you're all in, and I would love if you join me in that journey through my group and through what I'm doing. If it's not with me, just do it. Just do it. Don't allow the bystander effect to happen. Don't allow us to let a small group of radicals, and these people are radical folks in this country. Okay, there's a small group of radicals who really are pushing for this communism. The bulk of the people are not the radicals pushing it. They're just passively accepting what is happening and what they've been indoctrinated to think is right. Okay, so really our fight, okay, can be that group of radicals. So don't allow that, army of 13 million outnumber, 160 million people. Don't allow that to happen. Be part of something that's moving us forward. And if you can, dedicate any time to Justify, to help us become a unified voice, to help start to find a way for conservative groups to find a unified voice. When we are a force to be reckoned with, that'll be the day that we're all working in unison, that we're all working together. And we cannot rely on the formal Republican Party or the GOP to help us fight the Democratic Party or what the Democrats are trying to do and bring in socialism. We have to, all conservatives, come together under a unified voice. So that's my spiel for this week. Again, please check out justify.org. Make sure you get the Recall Polis petition signed. And again, if you are one of my Latino or Latina friends, please let me know. This t-shirt is for you. Sorry we couldn't use it, but it's be nice to sport around this next couple of weeks while you're out, campaigning or whatever it is you might be doing. So it's justdefy.org. And tonight I just want to close by saying just a little something I would like to say and have each one of you hopefully stop for a second if you're watching this all the way through and say with me, Dear Heavenly Father, please give me the strength and give us the strength. Give everyone the strength to do what they need to protect our country, protect our families, and do what is right for our children. Dear Lord, guide our hand. Give us the words, give us the strength, and protect us and help us. And just every day, ask Lord for the blessing, because it is only going to be that way that we have the strength to continue to move forward that we need. All right. Well, that's enough for tonight. Definitely a little bit of a change for me for my Tuesday night broadcast. I know, a little bit more solemn than usual, but it has to be said. And so I'm saying it. And I hope that at some point you do get to watch through this video and that I will see you out there, and looking forward to being out again this weekend. I'll have Polis petitions. I'm going to be rallying on the 1st. I'm going to be doing a cruise with the Patriot Cruise and just checking out all the events I can. Support your local candidates. Right now, it's the crunch time. Ballots are already out and a lot of them have been turned in, but there's still a lot out. And they need people to go out and help collect up those ballots, get the last minute voters off the bench. So get out and act toward that end. Thanks. Have a good night.